welcome back to the Renaissance Room podcast. I am Katie, your host, your boudoir photographer, and also today your professional mythbuster. All right, I am here to remind you that the problem was never your body, it was just the way that you were taught to see it. So let's bust some myths. Today we are going to go over 5 of the many objections that I get in my DMs, when I'm talking to friends, when I'm meeting new strangers about why they specifically feel like they're not ready for a boudoir session. There are so many other things I could put on this list, but I tried to think of 5 of the most frequent ones that come up, or 5 that I feel like really are important to bust so that you, somebody who may have considered doing a boudoir shoot but needed just like a little bit more information or like a little bit more of some hand-holding, maybe even you might be ready to do a session after you hear why these sort of like limiting beliefs that you have about why you might not be ready for a session are just that, limiting beliefs, not facts, okay? They're myths, they're lies that you have told yourself, not because you're bad. It is because of the patriarchy. It is because of the billion-dollar beauty industry that is trying to get money out of you every single day by telling you that you're not enough as you are already. So we're going to talk about the beauty industry another day. But for today, let's get into these myths. Okay, let's start with myth number 1, which is probably the myth that I hear again and again and again the most, which is that you have to lose weight before you can do a boudoir shoot. That is absolutely not true. I totally understand why it feels like it is. There are so many years of my life that I would have felt exactly the same way. But I promise you that doing a boudoir shoot while your body is exactly the way that it is today is 1 trillion times more powerful than doing it after you've quote unquote lost the weight or made any change, really, right? A lot of times I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I need to get my Botox first, or oh, I need to get my teeth whitened first, or let me get my lip filler first, or all kinds of lists of things that we all do. I do some of those things too. I totally get it. But there are all of these things that we keep saying, I'm going to change this about myself first before I do a boudoir shoot, that you actually don't need to change first, because learning to look at yourself through more self-compassion, through more self-love, with kinder eyes, when your body is exactly how it is today, is so much more powerful than if you really had lost that 10 pounds. Because what it does is rewire your brain to remind you that you are already worthy without having to lose that 10 pounds, without having to get that Botox. And that is so powerful. That is more powerful than a Weight Watchers meeting or a new Pilates subscription or any of the things that you feel like you need to do to lose those 10 pounds and feel worthy. It is so powerful to do the shoot before you make that change. If you can love yourself exactly how you are right now, God, that's such good practice for the rest of your life, because we are only getting older. Our bodies are only going to change more. The more self-love that you can redirect to yourself exactly how you are right now, the better you're going to be at doing that as we get older. As your wrinkles show up, as your body stops working the same way, you're going to be a pro at accepting and loving your body as it is for the rest of your life if you can do that now by doing a boudoir shoot. And here's the other reason that it's kind of bullshit to wait until you do lose the weight to do the boudoir session. The goalpost is going to move. If you do lose the 10 pounds, it's going to move, because the beauty industry wants that for you. They want to make money off of you. They want you to have another thing to fix. As soon as you lose the 10 pounds, then you're going to say, oh, I want to be more toned first. And then once you get more toned, you're going to be like, oh, I want to be tanner first. Let's do it in the summer. There will always be another goalpost that's moving that you think is the finish line until you're ready to do a boudoir shoot. And it's never going to be the finish line. And you might be thinking like, Katie, I get it, but like I just can't let that go. Let me tell you that I have photographed hundreds of bodies now, not just in boudoir, but also in weddings. And I can tell you with complete certainty that the people who spent months or years telling me they weren't ready for a shoot until they lost weight and then finally did a shoot are the ones who also look back on their photos from the year before or 2 years before that or 3 years before that or 10 years before that. And they say to me, God, Katie, I should have done this sooner. Look how beautiful I was last year or 10 years ago. And they just don't realize it until they do the shoot, right? Like, we are always at this given moment right now as you're listening to us. This is the youngest you're going to be ever again. So, we've all done it. We've all looked back on photos from our past and been like, God, why did I think I was fat? Why did I think I was ugly? Why did I think XYZ? And we look back with such kinder eyes and say, I don't understand how that little girl or that young woman thought so poorly of herself. Look how stunning and beautiful and wonderful she was. And we can do that right now for this current version of you by booking a boudoir shoot. So if you were one of those people who have been like, oh, I really want to lose this weight first, let this story about boudoir be your permission to book the shoot anyway. Okay, that was some tough love. But buckle up because I've got 4 more myths for you that are all also a little bit tough love adjacent, okay? So myth number 2 is that boudoir is not for quote unquote my body, okay? And if you're not watching this on YouTube, then you wouldn't see, but I just said my body in quotation marks. It's this myth that boudoir is only for certain bodies that are of a certain age, bodies that are of a certain size, bodies that don't have cellulite, bodies that don't have stretch marks. There's always a list of things that people think boudoir isn't for them because their body doesn't look a certain way. But that is not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. Boudoir is for every single body, everybody. I have photographed people in their early 20s and I have photographed people for boudoir in their 60s. I've photographed people who are a size extra small and people who wear a size 3X, everything in between and beyond as well. I have photographed people who have scars from C-sections, from mastectomies, from breast reductions. I have photographed people with stretch marks all over their body from growing life or also just from your changing body, from weight fluctuations over the course of your life, which is always going to happen. These things are all natural things about the human body. So if you're thinking that boudoir isn't for you because you don't have a certain body, really boudoir is for any body. Like, all of those things occur on bodies. Scars, stretch marks, freckles, cellulite, wrinkles. That's what makes the human body human. Those are such beautiful things that, again, the beauty industry is begging you to think are bad, that are unworthy, just so they can sell you something. Again, I cannot wait to put together an episode on the beauty industry. It's like too big of a topic for me to tackle today, but just you wait. And one of the ways that I sort of try to offset the beauty industry and what they are looking to make money off of you for is that I really try to photograph my clients through the female gaze, which, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, is also a great topic for an entire episode. But the female gaze is the concept that most of what we absorb in media is a male gaze, not just because males are put into all the positions in all of the world that women haven't had a seat at the table at for forever. So a lot of the photographers and the marketers and the people making the decisions about what movies are getting made and TV shows and what the people are wearing and who's getting cast in them, a lot of those are men. Okay, not all of them, but a lot of them. And the male gaze is going to be looking at you through the lens of the things that society, which is mostly rules made up by men, deems worthy. So that is looking for all of the things that men decide are worthy about women. But the female gaze sees the whole you, the story underneath the parts of your body, the whole magnificent, wonderful, powerful you. So I'm also looking for all of those tiny little things that have made you you, those scars that are part of your story, the stretch marks that represent where you've been. And those are the things that we're going to romanticize together through the female gaze instead of that male gaze. And that is why boudoir is for all bodies, all stories. All right, boudoir myth number 3 is some variation of this concept of I'll do it when I'm more confident, or I'll do it when I'm more sexy, or I'm not confident enough to do a boudoir shoot. I'm not confident enough to get in front of that camera without my clothes on in front of another person and be comfortable or be confident or be sexy. If I had to pick just one of these 5 myths to debunk right now, it would be this one. Confidence is not a prerequisite for a boudoir shoot. Confidence is the result of a boudoir shoot. You do not have to walk through these doors already confident, okay? I don't expect you to. We are going to build confidence together throughout the photo shoot, and by the end, you will walk away with the confidence. It might not even be the millisecond that you walk out of the room. It's a slow build. It's really, honestly, I tell my clients this all the time, and it sounds like a fucking crazy thing to say as a boudoir photographer, but I tell my clients all the time, especially if they're like having a hard time sort of getting into the photo shoot, I look at them and I say, look, you could hate every single one of the photos I take of you today. You won't, because I'm pretty good at my job. But if you hated all 100 photos that I show you at the end of today, and you walk out that door with no photos, you will still feel like $1,000,000 and gain confidence, because the confidence doesn't come from the actual images themselves. The confidence comes from doing something fucking terrifying and doing it anyway, but scared. That is brave. That is courageous. That is what's going to build up that confidence that makes you feel like you can do anything. And then the sexy bomb pics of your butt are just a cherry on top, okay? That's going to help carry that confidence with you every time you look back at your photos. But you do not have to show up to a photo shoot here already confident. You have permission to build the confidence with me while you're here. You do not have to show up already feeling like you're confident enough to do something scary like a boudoir shoot. Waiting to feel confident for a boudoir shoot is like waiting to learn a language until you go and visit the country that you're traveling to, or waiting to be in shape before you start going to the gym. It's backwards, right? It almost doesn't make sense. But I promise you that if you are somebody who's feeling like, I can't do boudoir shoot because I'm not confident enough yet, that you will build the confidence by doing the shoot. So again, if you're somebody that's worried about doing a session and you feel like you need to lose weight first, or you're not confident enough, really all you need is courage, okay? And then the courage turns into confidence by the end of the session. Myth number 4, I don't have anything to wear to a boudoir shoot. Well, lucky for you, I have a client closet with over 200 pieces of lingerie in sizes extra, extra small, all the way up to 3X. And you are welcome to borrow any and all of the outfits that you'd like when you're here. You can try on 15 outfits and only borrow one of mine if you want. That's totally fine. Not only do I have an essentially endless closet of things that you can borrow, including other things like shoes, accessories, robes. I have a couple little fun BDSM things in there too, little accessories for you. But not only do I provide all of those as an option for you here at the Run Room, but I also send you a guide as soon as you book your session with recommendations of things you may already have laying around your house that you can bring. So you don't even have to invest in new lingerie if you don't want to, or if you don't have any, you don't have to go out and buy any. You can bring a button-up shirt of your partner's to wear. You can bring your favorite heels you already own. You can bring a cute, cozy sweater if you want like comfy, sexy vibes. You can bring just your favorite bra and panty set, and even a pair of jeans can be really fun. So there are plenty of things you probably already own, and I'm here to hold your hand and help you figure out which of those things you can bring. I always tell my clients, like, feel free to bring as big of a bag of stuff as you want, because while you're doing your hair and makeup with my hair and makeup artist, I will just start going through your stuff, obviously with your permission, but I will go through your stuff and I will say, okay, I think this color purple is going to bring out the brown in your hair and the brown in your eyes, and that's the one that I think we should do first. And I think we should do this outfit next because it's a little bit more risque and you'll feel a little comfier because you will have already been in front of the camera for an outfit. And we'll just go on and on like that until I've helped you narrow down what I think is going to be best for you, your complexion, whatever sets we have set up in the studio. And then you get to try on things and decide what you feel comfiest in. And then it's like a collaborative process. Maybe I tell you to try on the purple outfit and you hate it and we scratch it and we go with something else. We will have so many options no matter what, whether you bring things or you don't. We will have stuff available for you here to try out. I do recommend, if it's in the budget, for you to maybe buy at least one new outfit just for the like self-care of doing something for yourself like that, you know, like a little treat. And I do recommend having at least one outfit that you bring with you that you feel super confident and comfy in, because I want to make sure there's at least one thing that you already know you're going to love before you get here, just to put your mind at ease. And you can always buy something and then return it if you and I find stuff in my client closet that you like better. So I will also send you a little guide with places I love shopping for lingerie. I think there's like 15 brands in there now. And I give you a little backstory about why I love that brand, what sizes that brand carries, where to shop for that brand. So I do not just leave you there to decide what to wear by yourself. I'm here to hold your hand through every single step of the process, and I try to eliminate as many financial barriers as possible for you. So if you are really already stretching your budget to do a boudoir shoot and you don't have the space to buy anything new, you can have an epic shoot without buying any new lingerie if you want. Okay, and last but not least is myth number 5, which is a fear around what will people think of me? Like, what if my mom finds out I did this? What if my coworkers see that I did this photo shoot? What will people think of me? And the first thing that I have to say about that is a lesson that I have been learning for 36 years now, and it's still a hard one for me to learn, but other people's opinions of you is not your business. It's just not your business. It's their business. You can't control it. You can't change anything about that. Now, I do, of course, understand that the nature of boudoir photos is vulnerable. It's private. And I do deeply respect that most of you will want your photos to be kept private. Absolutely understand that. Actually, I will make sure that all of your photos are 100% private unless you otherwise give me written consent. So all of my clients will get an email from me that says, hey, I had so much fun on our photo shoot last week. I'm obsessed with the art we made together. Let me know if there are any photos that you feel comfy with me sharing on my website or my Instagram, and otherwise I will keep them all private. So 80% or more of my clients keep their photos totally private. So no one has to know that you did this photo shoot unless you tell them or unless you show them. It is totally up to you. I find it very important that my clients know that upfront and in advance, because I want you to know while you're doing the photo shoot that if you're gonna like sort of push yourself outside of your comfort zone a little bit, and if you're gonna wear an outfit maybe that you thought you would never wear, or if I ask you to do a pose that's like a little spicier than you expected to be comfy with, but you're like surprised and you're like, yeah, let's try that. I don't want you to be thinking about, but what if blankety blank sees this outfit? Or, but what if blankety blank sees this pose? I want you to feel so sure and confident that you're going to be in control of what happens to these photos, which means you're in control of the experience, which means you're in control of how far out of your comfort zone you want to go. Now, I might challenge you on the day, right, with some poses. I always send my clients a questionnaire about a month before the session, and it asks all kinds of things, but one of the big things that it asks is, what part of your body are you loving right now, and what part of your body are you still working on loving? And I ask this question for all kinds of reasons, but one of the things that I ask it for is so that I can be thinking through maybe what poses I'm putting you in during the day. And I'm really, really careful not to say things like hiding parts of your body, but I will, depending on what your answers to those questions are, think about poses that are going to show off the things you're already feeling really good about yourself and highlight those things. And then I might just sort of like scrap a few poses that I usually do during the session that I think you might be self-conscious about because of the thing you've told me you're working on loving. But no matter what that thing is, whether it's your legs or your arms, I still might put you in a couple poses to challenge you on that and show you the back of the camera and be like, oh my God, you said you were worried about your upper arms, but look how incredible this photo looks. And I'll show you the back of the camera. And the beauty of digital photos is that if you still hate that picture of yourself and that thing that you're self-conscious about, I just delete it. It just goes right in the trash. No one has to see it again. You do not have to bring that picture home with you. However, maybe like a little over half of the time, if I do have you pose in a way that emphasizes the thing that you might have been feeling self-conscious about, and you end up looking at that photo at your final image reveal, probably about half the time people end up going home with that picture because they're so surprised. They loved their lower belly, or they loved the cellulite on their bum, or they loved the way that their arm looked in that particular pose, because people want to love those parts of themselves. We want to look at our flaws and embrace them. There's something in our way. That thing is the patriarchy, but that's, again, more episodes later. But I will maybe challenge you on a couple of those things. And again, at the end of the day, no one has to know that you did this photo shoot. No one has to know that you were feeling self-conscious about that thing and you still took a picture of it anyway and looked at it. And maybe you didn't love it, but maybe you liked it for like a millisecond. And that's a huge fucking win. Huge. So at the end of the day, whether you decide to keep your photos completely private, whether you're sharing the photos just with a significant other, or, I mean, I sent my photos immediately to my bestie when I got my first boudoir photo shoot done. I was like, hey girl, you want to see my nipples? And she was like, yep. Sent them to her literally before I was even in my driveway. Sent them to her from the car. No matter what you choose of all of those things, your choice is valid, what you want to do with those photos. I just wanted to reassure those of you who feel like the reason that you're not doing a boudoir shoot is because you're afraid of what other people think of you, or you're afraid of who might see the photos. Your photos are private if that's what you decide to do. And on top of reminding you that your photos are yours to do with what you please, I might also offer this thing to maybe question within yourself. Maybe you ask yourself, what is it about other people knowing I did this session, about other people finding out that I did this session, that is bothering you so much? Maybe the reason is that you're afraid to take up space and to be seen and to be so confident in yourself that you can walk into a room and say, I'm beautiful, I know it, and I don't care about anything else. Because we have been taught that vanity is unacceptable or vanity is unattractive for women. Men get to do it all the time. But if a woman walks into a room and says, I am beautiful, worthy, powerful, and I know it, that makes us all uncomfortable, right? And at least for me, that was a big reason that I ended up finding out why I had avoided doing a boudoir shoot for so long, that made me feel icky. I didn't like the idea of being overconfident in myself. I didn't like the idea of taking up space. I didn't like the idea of being seen and perceived. That shit is scary. We walk around all day with these masks on saying like, this is how I want the world to see me. And to take that off for a boudoir shoot and then literally take your clothes off. What? That is vulnerable and scary. And those are some of the reasons that held me back from that same question of like, what if people find out that I did this? And I don't know, I guess I should put a warning label on this because now I put my butt on the internet every week. So like, if you do boudoir shoot and you love it, you may also accidentally start putting your butt on the internet every week. I don't know. Occupational hazard for me, really. But those are just some things to think about, you know? And if those things feel really scary and yucky right now, that's totally fine. If some of those questions are like really sitting with you and you're like, shit, I want to explore those more, stay tuned because we're going to dig into some of that stuff a little more together as these episodes keep coming. So those are my top 5 boudoir myths. Honestly, they might not even be my top. I think it's impossible to rank them, but they are certainly 5 myths that come up a lot. And I could probably do 6 more episodes on other myths, and maybe I will. But I just would like to close out this episode by reminding you that these myths aren't really just about boudoir. I mean, they are certainly all of the kinds of objections that I hear from people about why they haven't booked a shoot yet. But really, these things are about unworthiness. They're about the things that our systems and the patriarchy and Adobe Photoshop and Instagram and magazines from the 2000s and the 2026 Oscars red carpet and all of these places where we're getting all of this information and data that women shrinking is the ideal, that women taking up less space is what we're supposed to be aiming for. All of those things are linked to not only power. Okay, we're going to really get into some of that in the patriarchy episode. But they're just linked to keeping us quieter and smaller. And we're not quiet and we're not small. And this is about a boudoir photo shoot, but it's really about so much more. And it's reminding ourselves and other women in our lives that we are powerful and we are worthy. And the reason that these things are still about boudoir is because boudoir is kind of the antidote to some of this. Boudoir is the way that we really understand that this isn't about our bodies themselves. It's about how we've been taught to see them. And if you are still listening to this after those 5 myths have been debunked and you're still like, I don't know, Katie, I don't know if it's for me, I'm still really scared. Good. Good. Be scared and do it anyway, because a different version of you is waiting on the other side of doing a boudoir shoot. And she's so much more confident and she can't wait for you to make this decision. So the next episode, I'm planning on sitting down on this couch with you all again, but this time with what I call the before and after buckets. So what I usually do, I haven't actually done it in a while. I need to bring it back. I sort of lost this tradition a little bit in my move from Rhode Island to Massachusetts, but I used to and will begin again having my clients write down one word or phrase before their session and one word or phrase after their session about how they're feeling. And I had 2 little buckets that I would have you put your before and your after in. And I haven't read them in a little while. So I'm excited to read them too, because they always bring me back to sort of like my purpose and why I do this and why boudoir is so powerful, and just like really fills my cup too. So I thought I'd bring you guys along for that, so that just in case you don't believe me and these 5 myths, that you can maybe believe my clients directly instead. So if you need a little more convincing about why you should do a boudoir shoot, or how the Ren Room works, or how transformative boudoir is, you should tune into the next episode. But until then, please don't forget that your body is not a problem. The problem is the way that you've been taught to see it and talk about it and talk to it and see it in the mirror, okay? You're not a problem. The overall system is. Don't forget, okay? All right, my friends, I will see you next time.